Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. I just finished watching the SAG Awards, and this upcoming Sunday we have the 97th annual Oscars, and we have him back. He was on a couple months ago to talk about the nominations. Who knows? Time is a flat circle. He is one of my favorite entertainment journalists that I have read forever. I am a proud member of his newsletter, The Sneider, which I am going to put so you can sign up for the latest. He scoops everybody on this thing, by the way. He also hosts podcasts, the Hot Mic podcast, and this Wednesday he's going to do his final Oscar predictions on FYC. The one and only Jeff Sneider. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's great to be back.
What did you think of the SAG Awards tonight?
I mean, there were some curveballs, particularly that last award, which we're going to get into. But I mean, on the whole, like, I'm just not into the whole precursor thing. I'm like, give me the main event.
Yeah, and is it weird that I felt like there was like 2 weeks in between the SAG and the Oscars, or is it always now a week in between the SAG Awards and the Oscars?
I mean, I'm not sure if the fires made everything rescheduled.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I feel like I wish the whole season was condensed to begin with. So I'm fine with one. Yeah.
Well, in your estimation, what do we see usually in this last week? Because everything's been voted on, everything's already done. Which I wanted to ask: when was the final awards voting deadline for the Oscars?
It was sometime last week. I think it was the 18th. I want to say at 5:00.
Okay, so what I love about you, I mean, like, I think you have acknowledged this, but you still have not yet fully converted. Honora is picking up a lot of steam right now. We didn't see it at the SAG Awards tonight, but Mikey Madison, I mean, the Independent Film Awards, she's picking up awards, I think, right and left. We're jumping ahead, obviously, because Demi Moore won at the SAG Awards tonight, and she won at the Golden Globes. The predictions are so weird, but who do you think is going to take this thing? Because Demi, another big award tonight.
I mean, well, so what are we talking about? Best Picture, Best Actress? Which one?
Well, let's go Best Actress.
I mean, geez, I still think it's wide open. I still think that Fernanda Torres has a legitimate shot. I just think that filling out an Oscar ballot is different than filling out a SAG ballot or any of these other ballots. There's a different weight to it. And so that's why I've sort of referred to the SAG Awards as the runner-up awards in past years. I predicted a completely different lineup of winners between the SAG Awards and the Oscars.
And it is, because Timothée Chalamet won Best Actor tonight, and I truly believe he will not be winning the Oscar next week. I think that will be going to Adrian Brody. But it was great to see I hate to say little Timothy, but it was great to see him up there and also acknowledging that he wants to be one of the greats. Like, I'm glad he picked up an award.
Absolutely. He's a terrific young actor, and he's got a long career ahead of him. I just don't think that the Academy is going to go for it. I do think that Adrian Brody is going to win again, but that's why I predicted Timmy to win the SAG, because these things differ, and I do think that actors really rallied behind him. They loved his performance as Bob Dylan, but I just think when you narrow it down and you make it the cream of the crop of the town and not like 100,000 members voting, it's going to end up being Adrian.
Well, you talked about the performance in I'm Still Here, which I still think the general public has not really caught up to yet, which is going to be very interesting in just terms of like the Oscars themselves and the excitement, because you have these big pictures like Wicked, which did box office, and then these much smaller pictures. I think a lot of the people haven't seen The Brutalist yet as well. And it is going to be interesting to see how that is all voted for and how that actually spills out onto the ceremony.
Of course. Again, it all comes down to, like, are people voting for the performance, or are they voting for the narrative and the speeches? I mean, it's going to be hard to top Demi Moore if that's what they're, prioritizing. But I just haven't heard enough people talking about the actual performance of Demi Moore's, and that's why I think either Mikey or Fernanda could win.
I got to say, after rewatching Honora, I'm really just keep warming up to that Mikey Madison performance. The last scene in the car, I think that is so difficult, and not to take anything away from I'm Still Here, but I don't know, it just stuck with me in a way. Demi Moore's performance stuck with me in a completely different way, but I think it, like you said, it would be kind of honoring a story, and the story would be Demi Moore's career in Hollywood.
Right, exactly. They're both brave performances. I don't know. Some part of me has this hunch that the international voters are going to rally behind Fernanda Torres, particularly after the Carlos Sofia Gascon controversy. So I still think that this category is wide open. I don't think that Demi Moore has it sewn up, but I'm willing to be wrong.
Well, you brought up Carla Sofia Gascon, of course, from Amelia Perez. And, there were, Zoe Saldana won tonight for female actor in a supporting role. If you say Oscar voting wrapped up last week, does Carla's tweets and sentiment, does that hurt voting for Zoe at all, in your opinion? And also, you said you still think Carla should show up to this ceremony.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, she earned it, right? So I don't think she should hide at home with her tail between her legs just because she said stuff that was unpopular. She earned her moment on that ceremony and she should show up. But yeah, I don't think that the controversy is going to rub off on Zoe. I think that people will penalize Carla. I don't think they'll necessarily, maybe they'll even penalize the movie overall, but I don't think that they'll penalize another actress who had nothing to do with those tweets. So I still think that Zoe is very much the front runner.
Your newsletter covers television as well, as did the SAG Awards, and I mean, the Bear did not do a lot, but we had Shogun once again sweeping in a lot of categories. Only Murders in the Building, I was kind of surprised they got best comedy series, and Steve and Marty weren't even there because Marty got COVID at SNL 50 last week.
Right. I didn't blame him for staying home after that. I was thrilled to see Colin Farrell recognized again for The Penguin.
That was a tough category, too, because Richard Gadd was picking up award after award, but that was such an amazing performance, right? Colin Farrell?
I think he's terrific. I hope that he comes back. I've heard rumblings that, they want to bring it back. I just don't know if he's so keen to sit in that makeup chair for 3 hours a day.
Jeff, come on, man. We got to get him back. That was phenomenal television. And especially since we have such a huge gap in between the Batman and whatever the Batman 2 is going to be called, we need that story. It is so damn good by itself. We didn't even need Batman in that show.
I hope so. I hope that Colin recognizes how much people love him as the Penguin and he decides to come back.
On the TV performances, we had Martin Short, Only Murders in the Building. We had Jean Smart for Hacks. She's been cleaning up a lot since Hacks has come on. You had Jessica Gunning winning for Baby Reindeer, which she, I believe, won the Golden Globe as well. So there weren't like huge surprises in terms of the TV of it all. When we get to the film, though, we had the Timothy Chalamet, we had Demi Moore, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. He seems to be sweeping a lot of these awards categories. You said it was a wide open race when I talked to you last time. What are you feeling now?
I mean, again, I maybe it's just part of me. It lives for the drama, and I hope that there's going to be an upset. Obviously, it's hard to argue with. He's swept every single, ceremony. I mean, he's won everything that there is to win, really. But just part of me, I don't know, that A Real Pain doesn't have that Best Picture nomination. I feel like he's vulnerable. I just don't know that anyone's stepping up to take it away from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and does this hurt at all? Is that I truly loved A Real Pain. That's another one that stuck with me. But Jesse Eisenberg, in every interview, he'll just be like, yeah, Kiernan didn't want to be directed. He just wanted to do one take. He already had it. He didn't really want to take my notes. And he does it in a comedic way where it's very funny to hear Jesse talk about it. But it is funny in just terms of like, you have Timothy Chalamet living in Bob Dylan's shoes for 5 years. And Jesse Eisenberg, he's like, Kiernan just popped up on set and just nailed it.
Right, I know he and that's the thing. He kind of just plays Kieran Culkin in everything, but he's so damn good at it.
So damn good. What were the other surprises tonight for you? Because to me, it was very kind of. I mean, I just thought there was a lot of mic issues, especially during Jane Fonda's speech.
Yeah, of course. It was a little choppy, but to me, I mean, we have to talk about Conclave because that is a true, what WTF head scratcher. I just thought it was for sure either going to go to Anora and short of that, go to Wicked. So Conclave definitely kept me off guard. But I think it makes it even better. Like it really gives that movie a chance to win Best Picture. I mean, I think it was always in the conversation in the top, 3 or 4 movies. It's all about the preferential ballot. But Conclave really made a case for itself tonight.
I was shocked. I really did think it was going to go to Wicked just because it was the SAG Awards. So I thought they were going to honor it in that way because I really don't know what its chances are besides technical next week. I mean, Cynthia Erivo obviously just gave an amazing performance, especially the last half hour of that movie, but I think she's going to potentially be nominated again for Wicked Part 2. So, that's one of those things that I thought tonight they would get this final award.
I thought tonight Ariana Grande might pull off an upset victory, but that ultimately didn't happen. And so that's why I think Zoe's probably looking pretty comfortable at the Oscars.
Jeff, do you get into the pop culture of it all and like, oh wow, Ethan Slater actually sat next to Ariana Grande at the table? Do you pay attention to that stuff? Because a lot of people that listen will be like, will Timothy finally walk the red carpet with Kylie Jenner? Does that play into any of your musings when you're thinking about film and TV?
I can't say that it does. No, I've never really been too interested in who people are dating and what they do behind closed doors, if you will. It's just not my corner of the industry, but I totally understand that. Like that is part of the glitz and the glam and the sell is the red carpet and who these celebs are wearing and who they're walking down it with.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is one of those very exciting things that's what some people just tune in to watch the red
Right.
carpet.
They don't care about the
So so the next one, by the way, that'd be great on your newsletter if you just start having a really sleazy pop culture section of who's dating who. Um, so the Brutalist, obviously, we had Brady Corbett, the director of that talk this past week, or gave an interview saying that he's pretty much. He's broke. I mean, like he has spent so many years doing this, and even Sean Baker, the director of Honora, this weekend at the Independent Film Awards, he spent his speech saying, listen, we are spending 3 years on these films and we are barely making a dime. And I want to believe in independent film cinema and to be able to make an earning out of this. What did you think of Sean's speech this weekend?
I mean, it was a beautiful speech, and it needed to be said. I mean, he's right. The business as it stands right now is not sustainable. So something needs to change. Something's got to give because, I mean, we can't let indie film die. It's
Yeah.
vital. It's a vital part of the arts and a part of the entertainment ecosystem. I don't want to, live in an entertainment, landscape where it's just big studio movies, right? And so I think that Brady's absolutely right. Like I understand how these indie film directors, yeah, it's not like they're not making any money for their movies, but it takes 3 years to make these movies, and you have to make that money last until your next gig, and that's why you're seeing people go off and direct commercials overseas because they got to pay the bills somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it is really sad. Part of his speech was that he said, also, I want to be able to hire the actor that is right for the role, not the actor who has the most Instagram followers. And I thought that was beautiful as well, because, in another world, Mikey Madison might have gone to like Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy. You don't know. Like, you want that kind of audience. So I thought it was really interesting. And now we're hearing it from here, from him, from Brady. I think that's such a fascinating conversation because I grew up in a time in Kansas where I was like trying to get my hands on a copy of Spike, Mike, Slackers, and Dykes just to learn about independent film. And we want this to continue, but how is it possible in the streaming era?
I know it's been a fascinating conversation that Maya Hawke actually touched
Yeah.
off when he talked about it. And obviously, as someone who follows casting, like I see it too, where I'm like, how is this person even in the conversation for the role? Oh, they have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million Instagram followers. I see. It is depressing because obviously you're seeing people who are trained actors and they'll go to Juilliard or these amazing programs, and they just can't because they don't want to live their lives online on social media. They're being denied opportunities that they would otherwise get. And again, that's just on execs like having a backbone and being like, we're not doing this. But I also
Yeah.
understand why everyone is looking out for themselves and trying to defend their job. And it's easy to say, well, this person has 5 million fans, so she's going to bring fans to the theater, and that's we're going to be better off.
You talked about on your podcast and FYC, you're doing your final predictions. At the same time, there is like a little bit of a wink on predictions in general because it's like gambling in Vegas. Like there is just it's really, I mean, there are certain locks, I think, but at the same time, anything can happen. I mean, we had the Moonlight debacle from 7 or 8 years ago. That's the kind of like insanity that can happen, but we just don't know. Is there anything that you're willing to bet your life on?
Oh boy. Um, I am pretty confident that actually Adrian Brody is going to win. He's the lock to me. I just don't see them giving it to Timothy. And if I just don't see it from Ray Fiennes. I don't think that he's going to put up enough of a challenge. So that is who I would put my money on. But again, with these odds makers, right? Vegas understands sports. They can look at the stats and do this and that. With the Oscars, it's their guess is as good as ours. So this is a good
Yeah.
opportunity to hit the books and actually make some money.
Do you enjoy watching the Oscars?
Oh, it's like my favorite night of the year.
So, like, do you have like a ritual you do? Like, is there's like, you have your phone out so you make sure you be tweeting, you're typing up. Like, what do you do on Oscars night?
It depends if I'm working or not. Like if I have to like be backstage writing a story or doing the interviews or whatever it is. I think tonight, this week or the next week, this year, I'm going to try and enjoy it with some friends. I'm sure I'll be writing something after the show and getting a newsletter out and all that kind of stuff with my analysis. But I want to try to enjoy the show because, the years where you have to work, you miss just being at a party with friends.
Well, this is going to be the first year where I'm actually going to be at the Oscars. I'll be at the press room, and that's a dream come true for me. Like I can't imagine what that's going to feel like. So I'm really excited just to be around all of it, and I still think there's so much magic in Hollywood. Your newsletter talks about that magic all the time, and I just want to remind people: obviously, sign up for this thing. But there's so much news that you break every week, and like you have a huge conversation already with James Bond going to Amazon, and I thought that was fascinating because it's almost like Jeff Bezos is going to put out a poll on Twitter of who should be the next James Bond. Do we have anything to be scared of James Bond being in the hands of Amazon?
I mean, I don't think it's great. I do wish that Barbara Broccoli and Albert Wilson were still defending the brand. They've kind of just ceded full creative control to Jennifer Salke. I think she just needs to find the right people, right? It can't be Jeff Bezos is not crowdsourcing the next Bond. You need to hire a good director and let them decide who's going to be right for their vision of the character.
I'm telling you, she's going to put Kim Kardashian as a Bond girl. I'm like, we're very close. But it is interesting. We were so close to a Christopher Nolan Bond, I feel, at one time. And I think we're far away from that now. One of the other stories that you broke for me, I don't know if you broke it entirely, was Paul Giamatti doing the Art Bell story, which for me, I grew up listening to Art Bell, and that guy like I used to get chills listening to some of that stories. And now Paul Giamatti is attached to play Art Bell. That's exciting.
Varian Radio Silence is going to be directing, and I think that package is actually going to find a home, if not this week, then next.
So they're selling it with Paul attached, and they're just looking for people to invest that, finance it, and a studio behind it, correct?
Yeah, I think there's one studio and one streamer who are interested. So it'll be interesting to see where it lands, but I do think it will find a home.
You also had Sharon Stone potentially joining the cast of Euphoria season 3. It's been a huge, we're talking a Severance style gap in between seasons. So I think Sharon Stone would be perfect on Euphoria. So I was really happy to read that.
Totally. I think she fits right in with that cast and what Sam Levinson is trying to do with this third season. So I can't wait to see how she fits into the puzzle.
After the Oscars, how does this affect these people's careers? Will we see a lot of deals the next week after the Oscars in terms of, say, Adrian Brody wins Best Actor? Are we going to see him signing up for a Marvel movie the next week? In your opinion, how does this work in terms of they win? How do we see that in their careers going forward?
I mean, I think Demi Moore is certainly going to be in demand after this for sure. And like for years, I've been waiting for Paramount to remake Ghost. If you were going to do it, it's like she can't be any like hotter, right? This is the peak of Demi Moore, really. It's like, is there a way?
Kind of brilliant. That's kind of brilliant, actually, and you could do it in a way that could also be an homage to Patrick Swayze. You still have Whoopi. You have that's actually a really kind of beautiful idea.
And the other one who I think has actually been very patient and she hasn't signed on to anything, even though this movie won the Palme d'Or last May. That's Mikey Madison. Okay, I've heard rumblings about what Mikey maybe have her eye on, maybe circling, and I think it's going to be some interesting choices. I think the world is at her fingertips.
Well, right? I know you can't tell what that is, but would it be circling in an artistic way or something that would be a financial boon for her?
I think it's an from what one of the projects that I've heard, at least, that's a financial, a creative choice, not a financial choice.
Yeah, creative truth. Are there any other, like, last time we talked, I just love that you're always on the phone, you're chasing down stories. Was there any over the weekend that you were chasing down that you're able to fill us in on?
No, I've been back in Boston with the family, so I've been laying low and giving the phones a break this weekend. But I'm sure that after the Oscars, I'm definitely going to have to be calling people because you're right. Once the season is over, then you're going to see everybody like signing on to stuff for the summer.
When your newsletter, you just said, I think as of a couple weeks ago, the Oscars for 2025 have already, or 2026 are already in full swing. Like we're already now looking forward to the next Oscars past this Sunday. What are you hearing in terms of things that we should be keeping an eye out for the future?
I am working on a piece for the newsletter about that. But the two that I would feel confident in predicting right now are Julia Roberts in Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt, which is like a Me Too type of thriller. It's supposed to be a really juicy role for her. And then Colin Farrell stars opposite Margot Robbie in A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, which is at Sony. It's from Kogonada, and that's like a time-spanning sort of thing. And I think that's going to put Colin in contention.
Okay, amazing. Last two things from your newsletter. The hot rumor that I love this week, Andrew Garfield and Jude Law. I deduced Siegfried and Roy, and I thought I hope this rumor turns out to be true because, man, that would be amazing.
I think they'd be perfect too. And like, again, I spent an hour or two staring at these guys and I was like, I don't know who's playing who. Like they could kind of I hope that it sticks. No confirmation on that one yet, but that was a good source on that rumor.
And I hope it's out. Like I love Behind the Candelabra or with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon. But I hope this is a feature film. And then finally, Sergeant Rock, which is in the DC banner, James Gunn. Just trying, figuring this all out. We had Daniel Craig as Sergeant Rock, and now he dropped out. And you're saying potentially Jeremy Allen White is up for this?
That's who I hear has the offer. One source said they think it'll work out, and another source was a little skeptical. But
the age, the Daniel Craig to Jeremy Allen White, that's a hard.
For sure. You wouldn't think of those two guys as going up for the same role. Beats me. I think there's just some flexibility there in the age range. But yeah, we'll see.
And lastly, any movie this week or in the past month that you saw that blew you away? It could be an old movie too. It could be something you rewatched.
Oh boy. It's been January, February is always a tough time for movies. I actually enjoyed the Keke Palmer SZA movie, One of Them Days. I thought that was a fun buddy comedy. You don't see a lot of comedies with two black women in the leads. And I thought that they did a great job. So, we'll see if they get a sequel, another One of Them Days. Yeah.
What did you think of Companion and not Dark Eyes, but Hard Eyes?
Hard Eyes. I thought both were okay.
Okay. But it was fun to see those movies out there. I like people that are doing some different things.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Very well direct. I thought Hard Eyes was well written up until that third act. Like it was clever, had a good sense of humor, and Companion was very good as well. Sophie Thatcher's terrific, and she's in talks to be the lead in Mr. and Mrs. Smith opposite the kid from Anora, Mark Edelstein. So, which
is in the Sneider newsletter. That's it, folks. You just make me excited about film. I cover a lot of reality TV, so every time I get to read anything that you do, it reminds me of my love for movies. And I think you guys, I had so many people reach out to me after the last time you were on. So I hope you'll keep coming back, man. It's just always a pleasure to talk to you.
It's an honor. Likewise. Thank you for having me, Ryan.